Hey guys, welcome to Silva Podcast. My name is Silva, and in today's episode, I will talk to a great English teacher. Her name is Teacher Julie, and she lives in Dubai, but she's from Canada. And she is helping people all over the world to speak English in a simple and effective way. She has a YouTube channel and she has an Instagram account, and her Instagram account is over than 100,000 people there. She's amazing. I know you will love this conversation, and I am looking forward to see your comments right below the video. This podcast is about confidence, it's about motivation, it's about you. So if you are not able to speak a good English right now, if you are afraid or if you are shy, if you don't believe you can do it, this podcast is special for you, because during this conversation, you will see a lot of tips, a lot of great strategies to help you to speak English with confidence and no more fear and no more hesitation, okay? As happened to me, with me was the same. I was shy, but right now I'm helping other people to do what I did and speak a better English. So I hope you enjoy this episode. So right now, let's jump into the conversation. I am so excited about today's conversation because I know it will help you to improve your English. So if you believe that you can speak English with confidence, just put below in the comments, I can do it, okay? So let's jump right in the conversation. Teacher Julie, be welcome to our episode. I am so excited to speak with you. And as I mentioned before, you are helping a lot of people all over the world. And I know this episode is going to be amazing. So, Teacher Julie, welcome to Silva Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
Hi, Fred. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So, Julie, first of all, tell us about your journey. Why did you decide to become an English teacher? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, sure. So honestly, I had never really thought I would be a teacher of any kind. And initially, I studied human resources, I studied business. And while I was a student, one of the things that I loved was training. So after I graduated, I tried to kind of go this route, and I realized that I really loved training and not so much the other aspects of business and HR. And I tried to find a way to combine this and also to travel. So initially, I became a teacher as a way to travel. I started off teaching kids. And then I realized that I really loved it. And aside from traveling, it was something that I could do to make a difference. And yeah, the rest is history pretty much. That's how I got started. So initially, it was not my intention, but I ended up really loving it.
Yeah, I think things in life, the best things in life are like that. You're not expecting, but when it happened, it really changed our lives. So, and I like what you said that it was like an excuse to travel around the world because it's amazing, you know. And right now you are in an amazing place. You live in Dubai, in a place that, you know, it's different from our own country. The culture is different, the language and food and everything. So this is amazing. I think, as I said, best things in life happen like that, all of a sudden, or you're not expecting. So, how it for you? How is to live in in a big city like Dubai with a different culture of your own culture?
So it's a great question, actually. Dubai is one of the places that I had dreamed of coming. So just a little bit more background information that I think your listeners might need is that I've lived in different countries as a teacher. So I worked in Afghanistan, China, Brazil, where you were from,
Really?
Thailand. Thailand, the UK, Canada, and then Dubai. So Dubai is my final and current destination, I think, as a teacher. And living here is fantastic. I love the city. It's a very multicultural city, multinational city. I would say it's an international city. Honestly, I love it personally. It's very easy to live here. It's really easy to live here, even though the official language is Arabic. Honestly, you can get away with just speaking English here. You don't need to speak Arabic. It's nice, but you don't need to at all. So I'm from a city, I'm from Toronto, but it's not as, I would say, advanced as Dubai. Toronto is a smaller scale, a simpler city. So I personally love it here, and the weather is amazing. And in terms of culture, there's a mix of anything. So it's very international, like New York, London. This is the kind of vibe that the city has. So for me, it's perfect. I'm a city person, 100%. So I love it. I would recommend coming if you ever have a chance.
Amazing, amazing. I will ask you about the language because Arabic is totally different from English. But as you mentioned, it's possible to live there without speak the language. But I think in Brazil it's different. I don't know how was your experience in Brazil, but here people don't speak so much English. Depend of the city you are, but I think it's a little bit more hard because you need to know a little bit about Portuguese. How was your experience here in Brazil?
I actually think it's much harder. It's not a little bit hard. It's much harder. It was much harder in Brazil. Honestly, yes. In Brazil, my experience was tough in terms of language. When I arrived, I didn't speak Portuguese at all. And when I left, I still didn't speak Portuguese. But because I'm an English teacher, the good thing is that people wanted to speak to me in English. And then, of course, I met some of my students, thankfully. But outside of work, it was very difficult for me. But the good thing was that I could blend in. Like, people didn't know where I was from. So I could get away with passing as possibly Brazilian. So I just didn't speak when I was out. Yeah, I just walked around and pretended that I knew what was happening. But honestly, it was tough meeting people. I had to use like intonations and meet up and just socialize with the people I worked with. It was difficult. I didn't really just speak to anyone as I would in a city where you could speak English. So it was tough. It was tough. I would recommend, if you're going to Brazil, if you're going to work in Brazil, especially, to learn some Portuguese before.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. I think here, 3 or 5% of population speak English. It's not so much because Brazil has over than 200,000 people here. So it's just a few part of the population that speak English. That's a pity. But in this podcast is for help people to do that, because I know that speak English is not just about know the language, but it's more about you have confidence. It's more about you are comfortable when you are speaking in that language. So I hope this can happen in my country. This can change in my country and in other countries too, because I know this is not just a problem that we have in Brazil, but we have in Mexico, we have in Colombia, Japan, and all these countries. So I hope this podcast can help people, and having guests like you, great teachers, that people that are helping other students to improve. I think this is gonna happen, and I hope it's gonna be soon. Speaking about this, you have a YouTube channel and you have an Instagram account where you help people to speak English. Could you speak a little bit about your job right now? Because you are an English teacher in Dubai. Yes. I know you teach students presentially, but you also have a YouTube channel. You are helping people around the world to speak English with confidence. And by the way, I love your statement. English made simple. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. Because English doesn't need to be hard, doesn't need to be complex. could be simple, you know. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your job on the internet and how did you start and how it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going with what you actually said, I mentioned that I've worked in quite a few countries, including Brazil, and it's exactly the point that you just made, that a lot of people, a majority of people, of course, cannot communicate in English, and I feel like the younger generation is now learning, and a lot of them are leaving their countries and going abroad. But many people want to speak English. Many adults, let's say, many adults want to speak English, but they kind of missed that in their schooling, in their younger days, and they don't really know where to start. And so, what I do is exactly what you said, try to make the concept of learning English and communicating in English simpler for adults, specifically now online. So, I only started in the whole online world, honestly, during the pandemic. So, I've been a teacher since 2010, but the online transition has been quite new for me. It's been a learning curve. So yes, now I have Instagram and YouTube as well. And I try to teach very practical things that are accessible to everyone. So it was very difficult answering your question about how it's going. In the beginning, I was extremely hesitant. I hated making videos. I mentioned to you before, I hated it. I absolutely dreaded making videos. I was like shaking, sweating. I avoided it at all costs for so long. And so many of my students used to say to me, "Oh, you should make a YouTube channel. You should start a channel." And I was just putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. There was no reason. And then when the pandemic happened, like everyone else, I had to adjust my approach and find another method because I'm self-employed. So before the pandemic, I was teaching face-to-face, group classes, one-to-one classes. And then, of course, I needed to find another way. So this forced me and pushed me to start making some videos. So I started on Instagram, and it was a slow process and definitely a learning curve for me. But now the Instagram page has grown quite a lot, and it's reaching a lot of people around the world, which is really, really cool. YouTube is slowly but surely growing, and I'm enjoying the process. Before, it was really slow and really challenging in the beginning. And I think this is also a good example for everyone listening, that I know that the process of doing something new, in your case, communicating in English, is difficult, right? Just like making videos was difficult for me. And I'm not a professional, but I'm getting much better with the video. So now it's going quite well. And now I work fully online. And it's nice. It's nice. It's really nice. It's kind of opened up a whole new world of opportunities that honestly I never thought about before. So I like it, and I hope that it continues to reach a lot more people.
Yeah, it's funny because the first time I saw you on a video, you said, "Oh, I was really nervous," and I couldn't see that. I saw you doing a great job. So, and now
That's
it's so
good.
much better because you're getting experience. So
Yeah.
I need to congratulate you because your YouTube channel, it's amazing. I truly love it. The videos you record, it's very practical. You know, when
Yeah.
for example, that is one that I love that video. It's about the 35 ways to say no. That video is
Yeah.
amazing because it's a thing that I can learn and I can use in a conversation with a native English
Yeah.
speaker. For example, Brazilians have such a problem to say no. For example, if you invite me to go to your house or whatever to have a dinner or something, if I don't know to go, or if I don't want to go, or if I have another thing to do, I will
Yeah.
say, okay, let's do it. But I know that I won't. So we
Yes.
have problems to say no. And that video, man, I can do that easily because it's not rude. You can say in a good
Yes.
way. And this type of resources, I really like that because it helps us in a daily life, especially
Yeah.
when you
It really
are
is.
working with international people, or if you are living in an English speaking country. I think this type of things will help us to make English simple, not,
Yes.
try to do something complex, but the communication needs to be simple. And I like the approach of your videos. I need to congratulate you. And when I look at your Instagram account, I got shocked. Over 100,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
followers. I got like, man, it's growing so fast, and I'm so happy
Yeah.
to see that, because you deserve. You are a great teacher. You have been
Thank you.
helping people around the world with your knowledge and everything. So you deserve it. And I know it's going to be bigger and bigger because you are doing a great job. And now you said you are working full time online. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you. And this point you made about the example of this video about how to say no to people. I think that especially adult learners tend to overcomplicate the process of learning English because they learn in a way that they're used to from school. So in a very traditional sense of memorizing rules and then doing exercises. And that's like, I'm not saying it's, the worst thing ever, but it doesn't help with communication in the end. Like that's just one tiny little part of learning a language. And these practical and simple things are often overlooked by adult learners because they're very focused on pronunciation and maybe the right vocabulary and the right grammar, and it sort of stops there. So yeah, all of the lessons that I create are, my goal with every single thing is that exactly what you said, and I'm really happy to hear that it's working, is that you can watch something, learn from it immediately, and then take it and go away and use it the same day, the next day. So that's awesome that that's working, and I'm happy to hear it, that it's helpful.
Yeah, I think English is a tool that you need to use it. It's not something for you know it
Yes.
and don't do anything with what you know. So it needs to be
Yeah.
it needs to be practical. So I like your videos more because of that. And the way you speak, it's easy to understand. I was talking to a friend about you, and she said, "Oh, she's great. She speaks not very fast. It's possible to see what's going on. It's possible to understand because sometimes when you are studying with a native English teacher, sometimes it could be a little tricky because
Yeah.
you guys speak very, very fast. So for us, sometimes it's not easy to understand. It's not easy to see everything in the context. But when I look at your videos, I notice that it's made for adults. It's made for us to get the information and use it. So this is really nice. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
And tell me this: what is your favorite video on Instagram or on YouTube? What is your favorite about your channel?
My favorite that I've made?
Yep.
It's a very good question. On Instagram, honestly, there's so many that I don't have a favorite on Instagram, but on YouTube, one of my favorite videos I think I made last year, and I'm probably going to make a similar one this year, is about changing your mindset, getting into the right mindset for learning English. And I feel like this is something that, first of all, people struggle with. And second of all, people don't even think about or realize that they have to do. And it's also something that I have had to do personally with the whole transition to working online. So it's, I like the video because the concepts don't only apply to English. I feel like it's helpful in other aspects of life. So that would definitely be my favorite one on YouTube. And all of my videos come from my heart, but I think this one was a little closer to my heart because I personally had to go through this process as well. But yeah, on Instagram, there's so many that I cannot think of one. I like videos where I kind of make a little dialogue, like a little role play with myself, but just because they're fun to make, but not one specifically.
Yeah, that videos on Instagram is amazing. I saw one with you and another teacher. I forgot her name.
Recently?
Gabby, teacher
Gabby. Yeah, yeah,
Gabby.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was amazing. It was very funny,
Yeah.
and the videos on Instagram are very funny. So I think people get like very excited to see the videos
Yeah.
and you know and learn because it's you are learning but you are having fun at the same time.
Yes.
So I love the Instagram videos. You are doing a great job there as well because it catch us. We can stop to
Yeah.
see another
Exactly.
video because it's like a vice, you know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And it's addictive. Instagram, TikTok, these short videos. Yeah, they're fun to watch though.
It's I can see that it's that fits on you. Like it's your maybe YouTube is not the vibe you like more, but Instagram is
Yeah.
more like the way you communicate is
Yeah.
more spontaneous, and it's more
Yeah.
easy to it's more easy to do, and you do with more confidence. So amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There is somebody that inspired you at the beginning of your career, to become an English teacher or to turn your career to an online English teacher. There is somebody that was an inspiration for you.
In the beginning of my career, honestly, no. I would say that because I told you that I didn't really plan to go this route or to become a teacher at all. So not really. I didn't know any English teachers when I became one. I didn't really have any friends in this industry or anything like that. So no, honestly. But since I became a teacher, there are a lot of teachers who I kind of respect and look up to and admire. But I wouldn't say that there's one specific person who inspired me to do this job. I think that it's really nice to get to know other teachers, and especially now online. Like I've met Tiffany, that's how I met you, for example. She was a big inspiration to me when it came to working online, because I was always watching other teachers and I was like, well, this is nice, and I never considered doing anything online. And once you kind of get into this online space, you can connect with teachers from all over the world who otherwise I wouldn't have met. So yeah, I think Tiffany's definitely one for the online world. But in the very beginning, I didn't know anyone. So at
Wow.
first there was no one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this made your beginning a little bit harder than it could be because when you have
Yeah.
at the beginning somebody that you can look at it and see, okay, this is good. I will try to do similar or something. When you
Yeah.
have like an inspiration, I think it's more easy to do. But when you need to go and to your own path alone without
Yeah.
any reference, I think could be a little bit harder. But at the in another hand, it's in the online world, it's more easy because you can see the references. So as you mentioned, you met Tutor Tiffany, and she was an inspiration for you. And I know that this helped you to save more time doing the right thing instead to make mistakes that you will of course do, but you already know a little bit the path you can go in the online world. So yeah, I think this is like me. For me, was she was my inspiration to do this podcast as well, because
Awesome.
I was in an interview with her in an online event for over 1,000 people. And I got, oh, this is interesting. I can inspire people. I'm speaking with to over 1,000 people right now in a good way. And I am not a native English speaker. So I think I can inspire more people to speak English without fear, without hesitation, in a good way. So I get that that inspiration, and now I'm doing that. So she was a great inspiration for me too.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's really good.
I think I interrupted you. You say something.
No, I also was, yes, I was going, you didn't interrupt me. I was also going to say that I used to watch Gabby online as well, because Gabby has been online for a long time. And it's really cool that recently I did a reel with her, because I used to watch her like years ago and be like, oh, she's a nice teacher. And it's crazy actually to think about it now in hindsight, because at the time I was just watching other teachers just to see what people were doing with no reason really. And now I've gotten to work with quite a few of the teachers that I used to see online, so it's nice.
Yeah, this is the magic of the online
Yeah.
world. So I love that too. Like
Magic of the
this
internet.
this possibility to connect with other teachers, with people that are doing a great job, and that start a long time ago as Gabby.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of videos from her for a long time,
Yeah.
and she speaks Portuguese. It's really interesting, and
Oh
she's a
yeah,
great. Yeah, she speaks.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if her lived in Brazil before, but she speaks Portuguese very well.
That's
She's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Julie, you said that you work in Dubai teaching English, but tell us a little bit more. Out of the online world, in your presential job with people that you teach in class. Uh,
Hmm.
I know you teach business English in Dubai because it's a business environment and people
Yeah.
need this kind of knowledge. Tell us a little bit about what's the difference between business English and English in general, and how this process works in your classes. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. So yeah, in Dubai, first of all, Dubai is a hub for business. And for those of you who don't know, it's basically the city is built on business. Like it's a place where you come to work, and everyone here needs to have a level of professional English. Absolutely. So the difference between general and business English, we can start there. General English is for everyday communication, and this focuses on more on general vocabulary, of course, grammar, all of these things. And business communication is about professional communication and clarity, and also considering cultural differences, because in a city like Dubai, people's idea of what is professional in English is very, very different. So you have some people who are extremely formal and very detailed and really long, and the level of English is good, but it's actually not as professional as they think because it's confusing for other people. And then you have people who don't have a concept of what is professional or considered professional in English, and these two worlds don't mix. So in terms of business English, the way it works in my classes would just be to find this sort of balance as to what is professional in English and how do you measure that depending on your environment, and how to identify when you're clear, when you're not, when it's too much, when it's not enough, and a lot of work on how to get the right tone. Like you gave the example earlier of how to say no. That's not only useful in your personal life, but also in your professional life, because a lot of times people want to say no at work and they cannot. So of course, there's an element of vocabulary and using more formal language. So this is kind of the basic foundation, I would say, is the vocabulary and the level of formality. Of course, grammar is always important. You need to have a decent level of grammar, especially at work. But these elements, the formality, the vocabulary, the tone that you use, these three things, and how clear you are very important when it comes to business English. Of course, within every industry, you need to learn more technical language and so on, but that is separate from the business English element in itself. Hopefully that answers the question.
Totally. And how what is the biggest challenge for those students? Because it's different to learn English just for fun, or to
Yeah.
travel, or to use in a daily basis. But at work, it's a little bit more. You need to, as I mentioned, you need to have a decent vocabulary. Knowledge about vocabulary. You need
Yeah.
to have the right tone. What is the biggest challenge for them? What the students struggle with more in business English?
I've noticed that the biggest struggle is probably being able to express your ideas on the spot without preparation. Like, this is something that a lot of students struggle with, even with a higher level of English, with a very good level of English, when it comes to just engaging in a discussion or sharing an idea or challenging an idea. When they're not prepared, this fluency is missing. So I think this is probably the biggest challenge. And secondly, would be finding the right tone. So a lot of times people are really too formal or too direct or too blunt. And it comes across as rude a lot of the times when it's not, or overly complicated. But yeah, I think the number one challenge that I've noticed, especially recently, has been just being able to organize your ideas quickly and express them in a simple way when you are put on the spot without having prepared ahead of time.
Yeah, made things simple as your statement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And I
think
noticed it actually. Sorry to interrupt you. I noticed it even on the phone here, like when I get calls from the bank or from companies, people who are working here, it's like they're dragging out the phone call, and I'm like, what do you need? What do you want? Of course, I'm polite. And I'm nice and everything, but I'm sure not everyone is as polite to them on the phone. And I know they're just doing their job, but the tone and the formality and the length, it's just like it's very off-putting. So I'm nice, but I know that they're trying to do their job and be professional, and they're speaking in the way that they know or the way that they've been trained. But it's not effective. It's not efficient, and yeah. So that's
I know.
not my students, just people I've noticed.
Well, to speak at the phone in English, I think at work, it's so much harder than speak at the phone at home, for example. I had this experience in the past to receive a call in English. I was in the other side, right? I was not working, but I was receiving the call. It was really hard to speak at the phone because you are not seeing the face of the other person. You are not, and sometimes you didn't get the vocabulary words because it's a little bit different. So when I received that call, my heart started to beating very fast.
It's stressful. I know, it's really stressful.
It's really stressful.
Yes.
I prefer to make a video call, and speak, for 2 hours, then get the phone and speak for 15 minutes,
Yeah. I know. You're not the only one. I think most people would rather do that.
And I think you use the phone at work could be so much harder. So
yes.
Tell me, did you see any experience of your students that you can share with us about English calls or about the business environment that could be like a thing that the students can avoid, or they need to be like aware about it?
So I would say the one thing that students should avoid, well, this is a commonality amongst all my students, I would say, is that many of them are not prepared for phone calls ahead of time. So even if it's an inquiry that they're making, or they're just answering the phone at work, if they're not prepared, the conversation never ever goes well. So this is not one person. This is just a general observation that I always really stress. Like, if you're prepared ahead of time, at least with the information you need or the questions you need to ask, this will help you. So a lot of times when I say that, they prepare the initial start of the conversation and they know like the first question they have to ask and they're confident and they're like, all right, okay. And then the conversation continues and then the call is a disaster. So for me, you need to be as prepared as you possibly can before a phone call. Obviously, when you are answering the phone, you cannot prepare too much ahead of time. It is what it is. But in that case, the other person will likely be leading the conversation. So it's okay. If you are the one making the call and leading the conversation, you need to be ready. You need to be prepared for more than just the first question or the first, few seconds of the call. And then it will be much smoother because you're going to be less focused on finding the right words and how you sound and the vocabulary and the grammar. If you have the content of what you need in the back of your mind, you'll be more focused on that. So that's what I would say everyone should attempt to do.
Well, as I can see, it's not just about English. It's more about other things, preparation, confidence, and the level, the amount of time you put in your preparation before go and grab the phone and make a call. I think English is more about this because sometimes people think that English is too hard to learn or to speak. But actually, of course, it's not a piece of cake. You need to study. You need to put effort. But when you are doing that and you don't have confidence or you are not prepared yourself to do something like this, I think this is where people really struggle and have, get stuck and don't be able to move forward and speak a good English, because it's not just about English. It's more about mindset and other things that you can change and make your English better.
Honestly, yes, because like the technical aspect of the language is not that difficult compared to other languages. So I'm not saying that, like you said, it's not that it's a piece of cake, but when you compare it to other languages, I think even Portuguese, I think the language itself is a simpler language than many other languages. But what's missing is the element of communication and all of the other things that go along with it. Because the technical side, it's things that you can memorize at the end of the day, right? With a little practice, anyone could learn any language. But all these other aspects are what makes it feel difficult. But once you realize that these other aspects exist, then it actually becomes much easier.
Yeah, I think so. In my own journey, it was like that. I got in a time that I was like, oh, I am like stuck. I know a lot about vocabulary. I know a lot of things, but I can't speak. I just can't. So I start to see how can I change this? How can I get prepared to speak English? So and then I start to do things like this, record videos for myself, and try to break the barriers I had. So because fear and shyness is a thing that really can stop us to speak English. And I know a lot of people that they are good at grammar, they know a lot of vocabulary, but they are shy. They are not confident to do it. So and this hold them back for a long time. So I think you experienced this with your students too.
Yeah, I've actually experienced this with almost everyone. So first of all, I want to say that it's amazing that you're doing this. And when you told me you were doing it, I was very excited and very impressed because it's not easy. I know that it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do in your own language, let alone in another language. So I really commend you because it's such a great thing and you should be proud. And it is something that a lot of my students have struggled with, and it's held them back from a lot of things. Personally, professionally, it's just like they reach a stage where they're confident with me. And then when it's time to, take the next step into the world and do stuff, they just kind of freeze. And I understand that. So confidence has a lot to do with it. And this willingness to face, an uncomfortable period when you first step outside of your comfort zone. And once you overcome this, then you can do so many more things and so many more doors will be opened. But a lot of my students have struggled with this, but that's something I love to help them to overcome. And that goes back to the practical element of all of my teaching and my style, is that it's practical in a sense that hopefully it can help you do something. It's not just like you theoretically memorize something and you're like, okay, great, I know a new word, but then when are you using this? What are you doing with it? Like, there are different approaches to consider. So, yeah.
Yeah, I used to say another English learners, man, if you can record a video for 1 minute,
Yeah,
speaking totally in English, not perfectly, but if you can express yourself in 1 minute, you can do everything you want, because it's hard to do it at the first time. It's not easy, but you do a video for 1 minute, you do another video for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. All of a sudden, you will talk in English for 30 minutes, 1 hour.
exactly.
The first time when I noticed that I was speaking English for 1 hour, I got like, man, what this? What this?
Yeah.
It's shock. I can't believe that I was doing that. But it was a process. I started to do
It's a
short
process.
one, a bigger one. So I think this helped people to improve. And this is the reason of this podcast. It's a challenge for me, as I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
It's a big challenge, but I think this it'll be a game changer for me and for other people too. So thanks again for being part of this. And I'm so happy to have you here.
That's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, but the interview, it doesn't end yet, okay?
Okay.
Julie, I see in the business environment, people can have a lot of challenges. And one of them that I think people struggle with is interview. To have an interview in English for, to get a job, I think could be a little tricky. And tell us a little bit about how can they go in a job interview in a good way? What are the tips you can give us about this?
Yeah, for interviews. So there's a lot of things. And first of all, interviews are stressful within themselves, language aside, but putting a second language on top of it makes it even more stressful. But the number one thing I would say is to be prepared in every sense. So obviously in terms of the language itself, but you also need to be prepared by knowing your CV, the questions that you can potentially be asked, know as much as you can about the company. And if you are prepared, you have the chance to work on the language, to work on the vocabulary, to practice your answers, to be organized. So this is the number one thing. When I say be prepared, it's in every aspect and over prepared. And as well, you need to practice. So practicing in your mind theoretically, even if you're prepared and you've written down your answers and you haven't said them out loud, you haven't spoken, it's completely different imagining doing something and then doing something. So just like this podcast, for instance, if you thought about it and if you actually did it, is completely different. The same with an interview. And I think that the first interview might not be great. It might not be, you might not be as confident as you feel when you're practicing. And I've had a lot of students that this has happened to, that even though they were prepared, it didn't go great. They didn't get the job. They got nervous. They forgot, whatever. But the important thing is to continue, because each time you have an interview, you will get better at it. So this is one of I think the main things. There's a lot of things, but if you start off strong like this, you greatly increase your chance of being successful, first of all, and getting the job that you want to get.
Yeah, the first one I think is going to be the worst interview, because it's the first one. So, but with the time, they can get better and better and better. And I can see that everything is related to prepare themselves first
Yes.
ahead of time and have the possibilities in mind. Other thing that I don't know if you agree, but personally I think could help is record yourself answering questions as you are in an interview, because you can see your body language, you can see your answers if they are good or not, and then you can prepare your confidence yet also because in our own language when we are in a job interview sometimes your posture, the way you speak, your confidence make more influence in to get the job than the words you speak. I personally have this time of experience. Sometimes I was not like very prepared professionally to do that, but people see that I could because I was very confident, and this I think helps. What do you think? People they record themselves and have this type of training.
Yeah. Recording ourselves is a fantastic approach. It's a great tool. And I mention it also in the business course, which you know about, but I mention it all the time. And I tell my students to do that. So yes, absolutely yes. And it's something that even though people are just watching themselves, they're not showing it to anyone. They find it really stressful. And I understand because I've also been there. I've been filmed teaching and I was super stressed. But it's I think the only way on your own that you can actually hear yourself, actually see yourself. You can be critical of yourself because you feel maybe like your answer's good or you're doing a great job and then you're not. Or you feel like you're doing a terrible job and you're not. So it's very different looking at yourself from the outside in. So it's a fantastic, fantastic tool. And I highly recommend that people do it for almost everything, I would say, for even presentations at work or conversations or discussions, just this ability to hear yourself. Like once you can do that, it's really, really helpful. So yeah, definitely it's helpful for job interviews for sure.
At the beginning, it's a little weird to hear yourself.
It's weird, super weird.
But with the time, you get used to, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Speaking about the course, guys, Teacher Julie has a business English course that I highly recommend. I'll put the link in the description. Could you speak a little bit more about the course, Julie? How is the course? What people can learn there, and how can they get benefit of this amazing project?
Yeah. So the course is called the Essential English for Business course. And basically, the course has been designed based on all of the essential areas that you need to work in business. And I also chose areas that I've seen many adult English learners struggle with, people who are professionals, who are working, or people who are looking for a job. So it covers everything from writing a CV, preparing for a job interview, speaking on the phone, writing emails. These are just a few of the areas that it covers. So it gives you basically the foundation of all of the skills and techniques you need to do all of these things and to work in English confidently. Because we talked earlier about, some of the challenges that English learners face with business English, and the course is basically based on those challenges to help you overcome them and to make them simple. So yeah, that's the course in a nutshell.
To make it simple, this is really important. Yeah. And yeah, I highly recommend this course, guys, because as she said, it's the foundation of business English. You will learn how to write a proper email, how to be in a job interview, how can you handle with the situation, the sequence you need to do, and this is part of your experience of training people for a long time, since you have 2010, as you said. So all of those experiences are put in an online course. I highly recommend this. If you want to click below in the description, you can get the link and and maybe a good discount. Let's see if Teacher Julie want to do that. Let's see.
Yeah.
So click the link and join. I think you will improve this part of your career as well.
Yeah.
So, Teacher Julie, I have a few questions, like quick questions before we end. And you need to answer with the first word that comes to your mind, okay?
All right.
Okay, favorite book?
Oh my God. I don't have a favorite book, to be honest. I don't have a favorite book. I can't even answer this. I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem. What do you prefer, an epic movie or unforgettable series?
I think an unforgettable series.
Do you have a favorite?
One of my favorite series is The Good Wife and Breaking Bad, both dramas, very intense, very I really like the character development. I love to follow the character development in the series, and I like to try to relate to characters. I like movies, but yeah, this element of the character from the beginning to the end, I really love in a series.
Yeah, Breaking Bad, I love it as well.
Yeah,
I love the whole
so
series,
stressful.
but the last one I didn't like. So for me, it was like, oh my goodness, they struggle with the whole series with the last episode.
They could have ended earlier. They could have ended a little earlier. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. The best place in the world is?
Best place in the world. This is very difficult. For me, the best place to live has been Dubai. The most beautiful place, I would say, is maybe Thailand or the Bahamas. So it depends for what. The place I like to be the most is Dubai.
Okay, good. A word in English that your favorite word in English?
Ridiculous. I think ridiculous is my favorite word because I say
Why?
it all the time. I don't know. This is a personal word. My cat is on the table here. Sorry. I say the word ridiculous to mean many things. To mean funny, to mean actually ridiculous, to mean expensive. So it's something that I notice I say a lot because my students ask me, like, what does it mean in this sentence, ridiculous? So I don't know. It's just a word that I use.
This is good. I was not expecting that. I like that. I like that. For me, I think it's unstoppable because of the meaning of the word. I really like that word. So a word that should be avoided in English.
I don't know.
This is a hard one.
You're putting me on the spot here. You're putting me on the spot. I think a word that should be avoided, well, not a word, but maybe a phrase is that you can't do things or things are impossible. I think this is a word that should be avoided because things are difficult, but not impossible.
Guys, saying that is ridiculous. So don't say that. Don't say I can't.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. Don't.
Good. I like the answer. It totally makes sense. I think this kind of thought or this kind of thing that you are repeating to yourself could be very tricky and can stop us in our learning journey. So don't say I can't. Don't say it's impossible because everything is possible if you put yourself hard. It's gonna happen. The last one, if you could give only one tip for an English learning, just one, what should it be?
Only one, I would say, to be consistent. So even if your progress is slow or you feel like you're not making any progress at all, if you stop, it's for me much worse. So this being consistent will help you with anything in life. I think absolutely anything, and will help you to get anywhere you want to go. Sometimes as I said, you're slow. Sometimes it's not going the way you want. You take a detour, but if you are not consistent, you'll never progress. If you start and stop, you'll just remain stuck. So yeah, that's what I would say. I have more, but that's the first that came to mind.
Okay, now I'm curious. Share the other one you have.
More. Okay, the other one is not to talk about yourself negatively. It actually goes on with what we just said. So when you say, like, my English is terrible, I can't do this, it's impossible, I'm sorry for my English, I think that words are very powerful. And the way that you talk about yourself, it is extremely powerful. So I would say that the number one hindrance or obstacle that my students have had is this. Like, when someone comes to me and they're like, oh, I can't speak English, I can't learn English, I can't do this. It's not my job actually to convince you that you can. If you come to me and you're like, I absolutely can't do this, then you can't. If you start off like that. So I think these two things, even if you're slow, even if you have to take a step back sometimes, it's totally fine. But if you start off with this, like, you've convinced yourself that it's really too hard and you just can't do it, or you're too old or whatever, then that's how you're going to move forward. So these two things, I think if you can overcome, you'll see a huge amount of progress if you're feeling stuck.
I like you said this, because I think every single day I see somebody saying that, oh, sorry about my English, oh, my English is not good, sorry about my broke English. Even people that are, have a lot of success right now. For example, in Brazil, there is an entrepreneur. He has a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. He teaches financial. He's millionaire, and he has a great network with around the world. And he was interviewing an international author, a really famous guy. And the first thing he said to the guest was, "Sorry about my broke English." I got like, man, this guy is he's famous. He has a lot of confidence. Why he did that? That doesn't make sense. So I think this is one of the most important things about English. People really
absolutely,
they struggle because they are saying sorry because oh, my English maybe is not good. I make mistakes. So when you do that, you get stuck. So it was funny you mentioned that, because I see this every single day.
All the time.
Every single day.
Yeah. It's really common. And it's like when you are dictating that your English is so bad before you even start. And then people might not actually be thinking that, but you are putting that in their mind before the conversation even begins. So yeah, I see it all the time as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, and about consistency, I totally agree. I think if you start and if you are not seeing good results, we are tempted to stop, right?
Yeah.
But if you continue to move forward, you will get better. But if you stop, you won't get better at all. Exactly. It's not possible, because you are not trying. So these two tips for me was like amazing. I really like that, because I think people can use it. And and the funny thing is, it's not about English. It's not about English.
No, they're not. Yes.
Okay, Julie. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was a great conversation. I really like that. I hope this conversation can inspire all the students to improve their English, to get confidence and start to speak English for real, because some of them are great. Yeah. They have the knowledge, but they are like stuck. And our conversation today, I think, helped them to notice that I can do that. I can get better. I can improve. I can move forward, and my English can be very good. So thanks again. If you can want to say something, please. You are in the spot right now.
No, I just want to say thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. And yeah, I hope that this helps everyone who is listening.
Okay. If they want to find you, where they need to go, your Instagram account
Yes,
and your YouTube
you
channel.
can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and my website. Maybe you can link them below, but my Instagram is English etc. English etc. with Julie. If you search it, it will come up. And YouTube is the same. And my website is englishetc.com. And you can find everything there.
I highly recommend. So go there. The link is in the description. Go there and see the videos. And I know you will learn so much with teacher Julie. And that's it. Thanks again. Have an awesome day and God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.